Kimberley Robinson remotely connected to tell me about how and why she founded Keep Real, a social enterprise running mental health interventions in the community. I do hope you enjoy our conversation. Welcome to the Light on Leeds Corona Bloody Virus Extraordinary Episode 5, where my guest today is Kimberley Robinson. Hello, Kimberley.
Hello, you okay?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for remotely connecting.
No problem.
So, Kimberley, you are the founder of Keep Real.
I am,
and can you tell me about that?
I can indeed, yeah. So I started Keep Real, oh my gosh, it's about 5 years ago now, actually, but it officially launched around 3 years ago now, and we are a social enterprise that's a business for social change and purpose, and we do mental health interventions in the community. So we do this through we've done like a live music show every year, we do mental health workshops, we also have an eco-friendly store, and plus we've just launched our new podcast about mental health stories. So
Excellent.
We do an amalgamation of different things to help people.
And what inspired you to get involved in it in the first place?
Yeah, so I did my degree in counselling around, it's about 5 years ago now. And I was really struggling with my own mental health when I was at university. And it was a really strange thing because I wanted to be an art therapist. And I was like, well, what's the point in being one if there isn't any intervention between you waiting on a waiting list and for therapy? So it was like a weird transition period where people are just left with a bit of a question mark, like, how do I help myself? So I thought, oh, yeah, I'm going to use my counselling degree and my love of art and mix them both together.
So that's why you decided, because you felt like there was a gap that needed to be filled.
Yeah, and I think as well, from my experiences, I think when I went to the GP myself wanting mental health support, it was a weird transition where I went for therapy, but there was no in between. It was either you wait on for therapy or there's antidepressants or medication. And I was a bit like, well, there must be some other option where I can help myself in the meantime, but there wasn't really anything around for me to feel like there was anything there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's why I started Keep Real, and we've been helping people ever since, which is lovely.
It's really lovely. So how do people find out about you? Is it through sort of social media, or do they get referred, or do they refer themselves?
Yeah, so they get in touch via our site, so keepreal.co.uk, but also we do various different things, especially in Leeds. So we've teamed up with the university, and we've done mental health workshops for the last couple of years now. And then, we just get recommended, which is lovely. So we did last year the Feel Better campaign with the NHS in Leeds.
Oh,
so we did a stress management workshop at the university, and I did a little bit of a blog post and things like that. And that was to help students access support that wasn't just going to the GP. So it was about, they did things like pharmacy maps and all these other amazing things that are happening in Leeds that people can access in between waiting for GP appointments and therapy and medication. So it was great to be part of that. So recommendations, and then people just get in touch anyway through all our social media platforms.
And so when somebody gets in touch, is the idea that you'll sort of speak to them and gauge what it is that would best help them?
Yeah. So because of my counselling background, it kind of allows me to help people, or just be that kind of ear that people just want, which is lovely. But also with that, it allows me to signpost to the correct services. So I've had all sorts of different ages that get in touch with Keep Real, and there'll be people that are students that are asking for support that's local, but also the over 65s, and they're like, I have no idea where to go in the meantime. So it's like Silver Line and things like that I can then signpost to. So I do provide the support via Keep Real, but also I make sure that they get the correct mental health support, and not just something that's quite creative where Keep Real comes from. But we try and do loads of workshops in the community that allows people of all ages to get involved. But mainly our work has been students, because I wasn't a student that long ago. It was about 5 years ago. So it allows me to help more young people, but then we do loads of interventions where all ages can come.
That's fantastic. What great work you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
And so what can you tell me a little bit about, you said that you ran a concert?
Oh, yeah, we did. We've done one every year since we launched. So think, we're on our third live show. We were going to do one this year, but obviously with the coronavirus happening, we've had to delay it. But we did one at Hedgerow House, and we had around 100 guests with us. So the idea kind of came about a little bit selfishly because I love live music. Well, what better way to get people together than doing a live music show and getting my friends involved. So we had 3 live bands play that were all local, and then I got in touch with a lot of artists and illustrators that wanted to have stalls at the show. So it was like an amalgamation of loads of creative people getting into one room and just raising awareness of mental health and raising funds for Keep Real, but also for the mental health charities. So we've done it every year since, and our last one, we raised around £100 for Leeds Mind, but then we did it at Belgrave Music Hall, and we had about 250 people attend that one.
Wow.
So it's grown every year, which has been mind-blowing.
Oh, that's just fantastic. And did you do it all by yourself, Kimberley?
Well, I have help. Like, there's me that does most of everything with Keep Real. Keep Real's like my little baby. And then there's also Aaron, who I went to university with. He did music production, so he knows the ins and outs of what bands need, because I'm really creative and I'm not really necessarily the most knowledgeable when it comes to live sound and what's needed.
Yeah,
so there's Aaron that comes with me to do all the pop-up shops as well. There's my boyfriend Josh, who's also in a band and did live music. So there's loads of different people that get involved in little bits of times that I need. And we've got Jake, who writes for us, that I met last year, and he does loads of wonderful articles on mental health. So it's quite a collaborative process, Keep Real. But yeah, I'm kind of like the background mastermind, if you will, that gets everybody in order when I need to, which is lovely.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's great. So you have a website that people can go to, and do you sometimes have other people referring people who they think need help?
Yeah, so when I've done little bits of like public speaking and getting Keep Real out there more, especially when it comes to our eco-friendly store pop-up. So we did one, for example, at Leeds Tattoo Expo last year, and it was great because it's got that kind of front of a clothing brand, and people just come up and go, oh my gosh, so you're doing loads of mental health work, and they kind of slide our flyers into their bags, and then they recommend their husbands or wives or whoever, friends and loved ones, to get in touch with us, which is great. So it's just a little bit different about how we can then spread the message of what we do.
So your eco-friendly store, what kind of things do you sell there?
Oh, we sell all sorts of things. So when we first launched, we only had like a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and a couple of like notebooks and beanie hats. But we've kind of expanded that, where we've collaborated with loads of different artists in Leeds. We did a mental health magazine a couple of years ago, and that sold out, which was amazing. We collaborated with 10 Leeds-based artists to make that happen, especially Molly Pukes, who's an amazing animator and illustrator in Leeds. And then we have all sorts. We've got eco-friendly long sleeves, and they've got like really positive messages on them. But we try and keep it as collaborative as possible, and it's really nice that we source it and print it locally, but also use eco-friendly cotton and making sure it's climate neutral. So it's coming from a good place, and that's what we've always wanted to do.
Yeah, and what a great way to be working with artists and the people who produce all of the products.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And did you mention that you have a podcast as well?
Yeah, we do. So we only launched this about 3 weeks ago now, and we're just on our 4th episode, which is lovely. But yeah, it's called Keep Real Podcast Mental Health Stories, and we launched it with Sound Rebel, who are absolutely unbelievable and so lovely that we get to have amazing interviews with so many incredible people. We've had Josh, who obviously is my boyfriend anyway, but he helps me with Keep Real, and he's struggled himself with health anxiety. And we've had Freddie Bennett, who is the world's fastest fisherman, who's got the Guinness World Book of Records, like just unbelievable. Like his story about how he's navigated the corporate world and run these ultra marathons is just so inspiring, and it's just great to have so many wonderful people that want to share their stories to help others. So yeah, we've also got Jess Ellis, who is our latest podcast guest, who used to be on Hollyoaks for around 5 years.
All right, yeah.
And she shared her experiences of being out of the limelight, and that experience of her character being killed off, and then her journey afterwards with her mental health. So there's all different people's experiences that we've been able to, well, just put out on a platform for people to feel a little bit less alone, especially in these times. I think it's really important. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it must be really helpful for people. I mean, when you talk about the actress from Hollyoaks, people imagine, so successful and doing a job that I imagine lots of people would love to do, and then to hear somebody like that talk through their experiences has got to be, really helpful for somebody who might be going through something similar.
Yeah, and I think as well, because it's such a unique career for people to be in, and there's so much media that goes on around it.
Yeah.
They live in like this a strange world where they can't just go shopping, they can't just go out with their friends. It's out for the media to see. They get papped, and they don't have the life that we all lead as the general public. Yeah. And even if it is Hollyoaks, a soap, or it's a series, working in TV, whatever it is, it's that weird notion that you can't do the normal things that everybody does, and that really does impact you. So it's a really alternative take on mental health and how we all deal with it in our own ways, because we see it as such a privileged position to be in if you're famous and well known, but actually there's a lot that comes with that.
Yeah, I just couldn't bear that whole thing about having to worry what you're wearing when you were just going to the bin to put your bin bags out.
Yeah, it's just like your worst nightmare. Who wants to see that? You can't do the simplest of things, and that can be really impactful because it all looks great on social media with all the fancy events and being on TV, but actually there is so much more underneath that, and I think it's important to share that story too.
Yeah, definitely. So have you got lots of people that you have got lined up for the future, or how are you getting guests? Do you get people sort of offer themselves to you, or people suggest who you should talk to?
Yeah, so we get people that reach out, and especially when, the first 3-4 episodes that we've done are quite from a male perspective, which I think is important, because obviously with me being a woman, a young lady, I think that men should be talking about mental health a lot more, and they are doing. Yeah. So it's important to have that voice as well. So when it comes to our guests, we get people that approach us going, I love the fact that you're doing this podcast. Can I be on it? Can I share my story? But then there's other parts of it where we'll get people that are recommended to us and we'll reach out to them. So we've got some really great guests lined up. And I just can't wait to record it all. It's bloody brilliant.
It's definitely one of the things that I really enjoy about podcasting is that I get to speak to so many fantastic people who are inspiring and doing great things. I love doing it. I get excited about chatting to people, especially when you find out about things that you had absolutely no idea about. Yeah,
you're like, I'm just going to have to write that down. Like, there'll be people that are like, have you read this book? Or have you ever heard of this before? And I'm like, no. Let me write it down. It's expanding your knowledge in your brain. It's brilliant. It's just those human connections that we all stumble across that just kind of change our world a little bit for the better.
How do you feel, have you got any sort of sense of how people are coping with the extra mental health strain of the coronavirus?
Yeah, I think there's definitely an elevated sense of anxiety for a lot of people, and a lot of people that haven't really experienced those like physical symptoms before. So there'll be a lot of people that I come across that are like, you know what, I've got a really bad stomach ache, or I'm not sleeping right, and they can't pinpoint why. And the coronavirus is definitely one of those things where people are finding that they feel unsettled more than they usually are, and they feel a little bit uncertain about why that is. And it's because it's your natural response to something that's happening that's very, very uncertain, and we don't have a deadline for it. We just don't know what's going to happen next. So it's about taking a step every day to just make sure that you're okay and you're safe and you're connecting with loved ones. But yeah, it's the mental health situation with the whole COVID-19 it's very it's not linear. A lot of people are struggling before it happened, and they might find that they're quite an introverted person, so they're actually finding it quite okay to manage their mental health in their own homes. But then there'll be other people that rely on quite heavy extroverted life of meeting people face to face and feeling connected that way. So it's just about the fact that we've all got to adapt in our own ways.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think as well, I find myself sort of veering even within the same day about how I'm sort of feeling mood wise. Yeah. You know, one minute you're thinking, oh, there's always amazing things I can do, and I must do this and I must do that, and I'll click onto this link and watch this live show, and then I'll do this, and then 5 minutes later I'm like, oh, you know what, I just don't want to do anything for a couple of hours.
Yeah, things feel a little bit strange, like all the kind of things that you used to do before that were just mundane, or everything was a bit too monotonous, has become a little bit like, not pointless, but just more like you're questioning, why am I doing that? Like
yeah.
It's like doing certain job or tasks that you would have done before. Just feel a little bit like, but this is just so much bigger than me. I just feel a little bit weird about the situation. And the thing is that you have to tell yourself that it is okay to feel like that, because, well, we've never experienced this before, and it's so the word unprecedented, which is circling around a lot, but that allows us to then have unprecedented feelings and actions towards it. So we just have to take it every day.
Yeah, I think you have to just allow yourself to realise that, you know, it's okay not to be sort of ticking off a list of all the jobs that you felt that you had to do.
Yeah.
And I find myself sort of, I think my brain just sort of does this naturally, where I'm like, oh, I must do this, 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 and this, and then a bit later I have to think to myself, there's no time limit. I'm only putting pressure on myself, and I think it's good to sometimes sort of stop yourself and realise that. Just think, hang on a second, you're allowed to give yourself time to breathe, and relax.
I think people are being a bit more mindful about the way that they live, or the way that they view life in general. I think our priorities are shifting a little bit, so hopefully that'll be the positive things that will come out of the coronavirus, I guess. Yeah,
and I think one of the things is that I think would be good is, or that I think is useful, is that there's been a conversation about mental health sort of building up for quite some time, across sectors and ages, which I think it's just as well that was sort of conversation was out there when something like this happens, because everyone is a little bit more aware of checking themselves and making sure they're okay, and sort of self-care, that kind of thing.
Of course, yeah. I think when we're sat with our thoughts a little bit, it can make us think, oh gosh, you know what, I need to take care of myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or you don't allow yourself to have that time, because you feel like you haven't got any, and now we've got so much time.
Yeah. It's just such a strange situation. Like you say, there is no precedent for it, so it's not like we can reflect back and think, oh, what did we do last time, or what did people do when that happened that time? So yeah, I think that is good. And also, I work for the University of Leeds in my normal job, and I'm really lucky because we've got a fantastic team there that do sort of courses and mental health awareness. Schemes of things, and we've been sent out a brilliant A4 sheet explaining that, you know, the situation that we're in and not to beat ourselves up, and a list of sort of practical things that you can do to make yourself feel better.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, that's been great, and I've been able to send that to other people who don't work at the university, but I think it's great just to be able to give you something. It sort of gives you permission to sort of think to yourself, we are in a really weird, difficult situation. Yeah. And it will have an effect on us at some point in 100%. Different ways.
Oh yeah, I think when we eventually go back to normal, I think we'll find it quite a struggle mentally to do that. I think because we were so fast paced before, or that's what I feel like anyway, that everything was just tumbling into each other. And now that we've had this long stretch to kind of unravel parts of our lives and just be a bit more mindful. I think when we come back to working and going full time and not working from home, I think that's when we'll maybe perhaps struggle, and we need to take our time with getting back to it.
Yeah, we'll have to sort of acclimatise back to, in inverted commas, normal life, won't we?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's just all about those connections that we make in the meantime. It's just got to be meaningful and compassionate. And I think that's what we need to be focusing on.
Yeah, to move forward.
Yeah.
Have you always lived in Leeds, Kimberley?
No, I haven't, I'm there all the time, pretty much every day, apart from now, obviously. But I've worked in Leeds for the last 3 or 4 years. And I actually live in Leeds. I don't live in Leeds. I don't live in Leeds, I'm so sorry. I live right on the edge of Sheffield near Barnsley, so I live in a village called Tankersley, but I commute in every single day. And hopefully I'll eventually live there. I don't know why I don't, because everything is there for me, like work, friends and everything.
But you just always lived where you live now? Yeah,
well, I used to live in Sheffield up until I was about 11, and we moved here. But I used to visit Leeds quite a lot while I was at school and hunting around for all the quinky vintage stores and blitzing through them. And it used to be like this big city living life when we used to go on the train. Because Sheffield has that kind of niche little market of vintage places, and on Devonshire Green and the Forum in Sheffield. But Leeds is just an absolute, just overwhelming, amazing, creative place, and I used to visit a lot when I was a child.
So are you missing Leeds quite a lot because you're isolating where you are, sort of locking down where you are?
Yeah, I'm missing my favourite spots in Leeds. I used to, one of my favourite, the great things about Leeds that I love is the markets. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. All the indie stores like OK Comics, Kapow Coffee, Flavour Like Fancy in Meanwood, Village bookstore. But I spend a lot of my time in Munro House, which is across from the train station, across from the bus station.
Oh yeah.
And there's an amazing place called Cafe 164 there, and it's just like a mix of like freshly baked goods, coffee, art, and that's one of my favourite places. So I'm definitely missing it. Missing good coffee.
Is there anything that you're not missing about Leeds?
The parking. 100% the parking. The only time when it's good is before 8:30 and after 5:30 when it's cheaper. And that's the only thing that I'm not missing. And the roads, I hate driving round Leeds. It's not my favourite thing to do at all. It just baffles me. Every time I always end up going wrong, and then I freak out and I start to sweat and I get all red-faced and panicky. I hate it. I hate the rush hour.
Well, at least you're getting a break from that.
I know, thank goodness. And I'm glad that I get to work from home, which is lovely. But it's not the same as obviously face-to-face connections, but I'm glad that I'm able to adapt what I do and help people in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah. And do you think if somebody had been a long-term resident of Leeds, you'd be able to tell them something that you would consider to be a hidden gem that they might not have heard of?
Gem. Oh my gosh. So this Flavour Like Fancy in Meanwood, Tasha, who runs that store, is absolutely amazing. It's not been open for very long, but she hosts a lot of artists and illustrators' work, and a lot of creative people have their work in her store. She's just shifted everything online, but it's absolutely amazing what she's doing. She's a bit of a powerhouse, and she's just such a gem, a hidden gem. So people definitely need to go and check her store and her work out.
That sounds really great. I've not been there. I'll definitely have to go and check it out.
Go.
Oh, well, when we're allowed to, I'll
Well, yeah,
I'll be there.
I mean, go online. Go online.
Do you have any hints or tips for people about dealing with the whole lockdown situation?
Yeah, sure. I think, like I've said before, it's about having a routine. Having a routine is definitely helping me anyway. I get up at the same time every day. I allow myself to get up late at weekends, which is nice. But I think having a routine is definitely something that allows you to kind of keep in check with yourself and just make sure that you've got your day slightly planned out, even if it is just having lunch at the same time and waking up at the same time, at least you've got that stability that we're finding ourselves to be losing a lot of.
Yeah.
So definitely that, and taking it one day at a time. I think we can't. Some people love looking towards the future and looking at things that are positive, like, oh, I can't wait to go on holiday, or I can't wait to do this. But I think what we need to do is just like, you know what, I just need to focus on the now, which is hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I think get routine and just taking it a day at a time. But there's no right or wrong way to manage this.
Yeah, I think that's useful to know that.
Yeah. And the only wrong way is obviously going face-to-face contact with people. So we know what we can't do, and we just have to focus on what we can.
Yeah, I think that's a really good piece of advice. Do you think that good things could come of all of this? Is there any sort of... I know it's awful, dreadful, and, you know, I'm so sorry for all the families having to deal with grief and loss. Do you think there are any positives that we can take out of all of this?
I think so. Well, I hope so. I think it'll create a bit more of a compassionate world. I think there's nothing wrong with fast-paced, but it'd be great to see the changes and the letting things gently flow a little more, and maybe get back to that make, do, amend era, and being more thoughtful in our choices. So I think we'll see that, and I think we'll see a lot of businesses that will adapt to working from home and realising that they should have done this earlier. I think it's great to see those who are like less able to travel into their offices, and a lot of people that are disabled or find things difficult get into those spaces. I think it's lovely to see businesses adapt to that and think, well, why have I not been doing this all this time?
Yeah.
And I think another thing would be, I think co-working spaces will definitely flourish a little more when we get back into the swing of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just, I think we'll see a definite increase in those being utilised a little more, because working from home is wonderful. And you think of all those big fancy offices in Leeds and you think, gosh, like, people have got these big fancy offices when a lot of the workforce could be working just as well at home. So I think hopefully we'll see a shift in the way that people work.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what sort of the long-term effects are. I really feel for all the people who, you know, have lost their income.
Yeah.
You know, when you see people, but I love seeing how resilient people are, and finding different ways, and, you know, putting things online and asking for donations and things.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Like, there's a great campaign that's going on at the minute in Leeds called the Big Thanks, the Big Thank You, and it's by the NHS in Leeds, and they're asking for thank yous online to celebrate all the amazing things happening in Leeds. So it's like down to the littlest of things, like, someone painted a rainbow in their window, or someone brought me a food parcel to thanking a NHS staff worker. It's amazing, and there's a whole gallery online, and you can see all these thank yous coming in of all the things that's happening in Leeds.
Oh,
so
that's really lovely.
Yeah, it's been a really nice one to have a look at, and you can have a look at all the tweets going on, and it's just something really positive out of the negative.
Yeah.
So that's been a lovely thing.
Yeah, that is a lovely thing. I'll definitely check that out. I haven't heard of that.
Do, yeah.
Thank you so very much for coming along and speaking to me.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
I can't wait to. I'm going to go and listen to your podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do check it out. I think we've got a new episode coming out today, I believe.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So get involved. Yeah.
Good luck with everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
I will have links in the podcast notes so that everyone can click through and get involved.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Fantastic to speak to Kimberley, and always good to have another podcast to listen to, and I'll certainly be checking out her eco-friendly store. As usual, links to all of the things that Kimberley mentioned in the podcast will be available in the notes. Music this week is a track by a friend of mine, Joe Leo, with his band Kaya. I'm sure you'll really enjoy the track, Milestones. Thank you, Joe, for sending it. Be kind to yourself, Leeds.
Walk through milestones with you hand in hand. Walk through landslides with you, still we stand. summer sun. When our paths cross light tingling wooden wall, we shared some meals, we shared a drink or two, and we forged a bond beyond this universe. We embrace and watch the morning come. The silence is broken by our hearts pounding as one. Synchronize the oscillating drum, beating the rhythm of our events to come. Walk through milestones with you hand in hand. Walk through landslides with you, still we stand. Walking hand in hand, our bonds grows deep. Walk through words, but words can't describe why